Till 5 a.m. Results, reaction, live as it happens all night. It's going to be great. They will follow our live coverage from Miami. Remember, we've got the Grand Prix this weekend. It's live on 5 Live on Sunday night. But the build-up, Rosanna Tennant, starts now.
It certainly does, Crossy, and I have to say I'm feeling like a very lucky girl. I'm sitting looking at the Hard Rock Stadium. We're 30 minutes or so outside downtown Miami, and it's beautiful weather. So I'm feeling very, very lucky as we get ready for this weekend here in Miami. And I'm feeling even more lucky because I'm joined by our three wise men this weekend. Our lead commentator, Harry Benjamin, former Formula One driver, Jolyon Palmer, and the BBC's F1 correspondent, Andrew Benson. I have never been to the Miami Grand Prix. This is the third year Formula One's been here. I have to say, when they told me I was coming out here, I jumped at the chance. What about you, Jolyon? Keen to get going in Miami?
Oh, always. It's a fun event, isn't it? It's a vibrant city, which we're very much enjoying. But the track itself, 20 minutes out of downtown, Hard Rock Stadium, baked in sunshine. What's not to enjoy about this?
By the end of this show, I think I'm going to be fully tanned. I am enjoying the sunshine. It's been a while, hasn't it? England's not coming up with the goods currently. Harry Benjamin, you've also been lapping up the sunshine. You're going to be enjoying all the entertainment and the Formula One this weekend?
Yeah, first time in Miami for me as well. So I'm lapping it all up. I'm going to go straight here and beat Palmer out the door. Got my 5K time into the beach.
5K? It was only 3K, I heard.
No, you misheard. It was definitely 5K. But no, I mean, I'm loving it. And being here today, first time in the paddock, the way it's set up in the Miami Dolphins Stadium, you're actually on the NFL pitch as well. It's a really cool setup here. I'm loving every moment, and you can't not like it when the sun's out.
Absolutely, and we're being very spoiled. BBC putting us up just a couple of blocks away from South Beach. And Andrew Benson, I know you like to feel the sand between your toes. Have you managed to have a little paddle yet?
I haven't made it to the beach yet, Rosanna, but it's the first time I've stayed at South Beach, actually. I'm a Miami veteran. I've been at all the races so far, all three now. And there's something about it. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is a real nice vibe to this event. And it's a shame it's not the original plan, which was going over a bridge over the Biscayne Bay with all the skyscrapers of downtown in the background and all that stuff and the water sparkling. That would have been really amazing. But it's still pretty cool. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, the track itself is, I would say, middling. It's around the car park of the Hard Rock Stadium, the Miami Dolphins NFL team playing at them. But Americans just know how to put on an event. It's the third race. There was the second, and then Vegas was added last year. And every time you come to an American event, all three of them, there's razzmatazz in a different way. And this weekend is going to be star-studded. And you just feel it, even on a Thursday. There's no driving today, but you just feel there's a bit of atmosphere in the air.
I was quite puzzled. One of the journalists in the sort of press conference we had earlier on asked the drivers if they felt that having the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which we had at the end of last year, had diminished the appetite for F1, and did they feel different coming to Miami here? And Lewis Hamilton sort of bit back saying, absolutely not. It's being embraced even more. And I would say, from what I've heard over the last couple of years with F1 coming to Miami, this is bigger and better, and it's just keeping on improving year on year.
Yeah, I think we need a really good race here. There's been some decent fighting, but Verstappen's sewn them up pretty well the last couple of years. It would be great for the fans that come here to see a thriller, which we did get in Vegas and we often get in Austin. But yeah, it's a very different event to Vegas that was in the night on the Strip. This is a little bit out of town, but around the Hard Rock Stadium, as I said. And America's a big country.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Jolyon Palmer.
That's why I'm here.
Offering up the big stats this afternoon. Well, before we get stuck into what we can expect this weekend, of course, it's a sprint weekend here in Miami as well. We'll get onto that shortly. But let's address some of the stories happening away from the racing and off track at the moment. Because coming into this weekend, we found out that Red Bull's chief designer, Adrian Newey, is going to leave the team. First quarter of next year, 2025, he will leave the team. Jolyon, how big is this for Red Bull? And maybe how big is it for F1? Because someone may well get him in their stable in 2025, and that could really shake things up.
It's absolutely huge. Newey's been at Red Bull for nearly 20 years. He's masterminded 7 world titles, but crucially, he's masterminded this generation of car that has romped to the last 2 seasons, and it's going to be 3 seasons this year as well. He is a design whiz. There's a big team behind Adrian Newey as well that will back him up, but he has got a handle on things so well. He's leaving the team. We don't know where he's going to end up, but there's a strong rumour that it might be Ferrari for next season. And either way, it's more destabilisation for Red Bull, and it could be a big shot in the arm for Ferrari if they're getting Lewis Hamilton alongside Charles Leclerc, 2 first-class drivers, and then you're getting the mastermind of the latest generation of Formula One car joining them. It's exactly what Formula One needs, a little bit of a mix-up.
He's sort of man, myth, legend, I would say, Andrew, isn't he? Because you see him on the starting grid. I'm lucky enough to get down there and sort of see all the teams operating just before lights out. And Adrian's often there with this notebook that everyone talks about under his arm, having a little look at all the other cars. But let's talk about his success. Jolyon touched on it, of course, but what has he actually achieved in this sport? How fundamental has his role been for all these championships that Jolyon's spoken of?
Well, what he's achieved is 13 Drivers' Championships and 12 Constructors' Championships across 3 different teams. So that's Williams, then McLaren, then Red Bull. But it's more than that with Newey. It's about, he's a visionary. And the word genius is bandied around a lot these days, but it really applies to him. The joke is that he can see the airflow, and I asked him in an interview in November whether that was true, and he laughed and said, of course not. But then he went on to say that actually, yes, it is true. He can visualise how the air will flow around the car, and aerodynamics are what defines performance in Formula One to a large extent. And he can pick apart a set of technical regulations and work out exactly the key thing that's important. So one of the things that Red Bull are trying to do at the moment, and have been doing for the last couple of years, and which has partly led to the tension with Newey, although most of the decision to leave is to do with the allegations against Christian Horner of sexual harassment that were made by a female employee, which he denies. They've tried to diminish his importance by saying how good the rest of the team is. But he laid down the concept for this set of cars that they've done, which is probably going to be the most dominant series of cars that Newey's ever produced. And it's the concept that's critical, how the aerodynamics relate to the suspension. It was very obvious when these regulations were introduced in 2022. Red Bull had nailed it and nobody else had. And he talks about how important it was to get that balance right. And it's those sorts of things. So it doesn't matter that he doesn't work for more than 50% of his time on Formula One and he's off doing road car projects and whatever. When he comes in, he makes key interventions. And those key interventions guide people into the right direction. So he's the most important Formula One designer in history. It's as simple as that.
So many people debate, who is the GOAT of Formula One, who is the greatest of all time, and they're divvying out between drivers. It's not. It's Adrian Newey, based purely on those stats that Andrew mentioned there. The man is a genius. But you know what? This season, we're not going to... I know we're only a few races in. We're not going to remember it particularly well.
We're quite a few races in now.
Well, yeah, I lose track of time in this season. But we're not... But that's the point. But actually, that's the point. We're not... I don't think particularly we're going to remember this season as for its on-track action particularly at all. Yeah, it'll be another one of Verstappen's dominant eras. But this has turned into a season that is going to become so significant because, before we even got started, boom, Hamilton joins Ferrari. We've got Sainz trying to find a way. We've got Audi making their play in the driver market. And now Adrian Newey is departing Red Bull. Where's he going to go? Is he going to go to Ferrari? Is he going to join up with Lewis Hamilton? I think that's what everybody sort of wants and suspects might well happen. And if it does get confirmed this year, he'll be able to leave Red Bull in early 2025. This is going to be one of those seasons to remember purely for those bases.
Yeah, so let's just clear up that leaving date. So Red Bull were quite careful in their press release. They said that the first quarter of 2025 he could leave the team.
So are we talking financial quarter, or what are we
exactly
talking?
What does that that defines the first 3 months of the year. I'm told he will be leaving early enough to have a significant impact on the design of the 2026 car for any team that he joins. And why that's so important is that there's a brand new set of regulations being introduced in 2026, like I was saying before about the stardust that he can sprinkle on, seeing the concepts and what's important. So if he goes to Ferrari, for example, I think it's around about sort of mid to late February sort of time, I'm told from my sources, that when he'll be able to leave Red Bull, that kind of period. So yes, they'll have started, whoever he joins, on their new car, but it's early enough that he can make an impact. And not only that, but let's not kid ourselves. If he comes to a contract with Ferrari in the next few weeks, and he's leaving Red Bull, but joining Ferrari in late February 2025, for example, let's not kid ourselves, he won't be working to some extent already on the regulations as soon as he knows what they are, because at the moment no one knows what they are because they're not finalised.
Lots of unknowns. Another unknown is obviously where or what Max Verstappen may well do in the coming years. Let's hear what Max was feeling once he'd heard the news that Adrian Newey would be departing Red Bull.
At the end of the day, you have suspicions and you hear things, but at the other hand, I'm also, not really a person that then keeps questioning things to other people. And I'm like, we'll see. Whenever someone makes his mind up, he will say it. And that's what then happened. And of course, I heard it before it was then, of course, publicly announced. But that's, it's fine. I mean, he's been such an incredible part of the team from the start. And I think as a team also, we'll always be very grateful what he has done for the team. But that's life at the end of the day. You move on. People move on to different things. And you're still friends. You just continue that.
Max, can you understand why he would leave a championship-winning team?
I don't know. You have to ask him. I mean, at the end of the day, someone will make his mind up for his own reasons, which I cannot look into his head.
Is there a chance you will end your contract prematurely like Adrian as well?
Not at the moment, no. I mean, I trust the technical team that we have in place, They have already been so important for what we have been achieving currently, so that doesn't suddenly change.
That was me talking to Max earlier on in the media scrum. As you can imagine, everybody wanting to have a chat with the world champion. And the biggest thing I took away from that, guys, was not at the moment. So we know he's meant to be with Red Bull for several more years, but could we see, when he says not at the moment, is that not 2025? Could it be 2026 that he makes a move? And where would that be, Andrew?
So his contract runs to the end of 2028. He's been asked repeatedly this season since the Horner allegations first emerged whether Horner has his full backing, and he's never said yes. He's always given an equivocal answer. Mercedes are trying to tempt him away. There are contractual mechanisms that would allow him to leave whenever he wants, basically. So it's a very real possibility that Verstappen could leave Red Bull before the end of his contract, yes. And these dominoes, as a consequence of the Horner allegations, they're not going to stop, I don't think. There's a lot of unsettled people in that team. There's a very unhappy atmosphere inside Red Bull, even if people will say that that's not the case. So there's more changes to come, I believe.
There's junior members of the team leaving as well that are being poached by other teams. Aston Martin are on a recruitment drive and have been rumoured to have offered a big money offer to Adrian Newey as well as Ferrari, the rumour is. And all of this is just mouth-watering for Formula One. We're in the midst of a bit of a stale starter right now where we're just looking ahead to 2025. Verstappen will be champion this year, pending anything that we really can't see moving forward because the car's too good and he's too good. But for next year, will Verstappen be at Red Bull? I'd be surprised if we see Verstappen in a Red Bull in 2026 at the moment. With the way that things are moving, there could be more departures from Red Bull following Adrian Newey as well. And personally, I'd be surprised if we see Verstappen in the Red Bull in 2026. And, I mean, all of this is going to be, you've got the best team, and Red Bull will maintain a really strong car because they've got such an advantage, but they won't have the champion driver, who may go to the likes of Mercedes or an Aston Martin. You've then got Ferrari building a super team. You've got McLaren growing all the while as well. So whilst right now we're in a bit of a competitive lull, I'm already looking forward to next year.
People will be listening to this, Andrew, and thinking, well, there's been all of the stories coming out of Formula One around Christian Horner's behaviour, the sexual harassment, as you've mentioned already on the show. People might be asking, why didn't he go? Why is it Adrian Newey that's left? Should it be the team boss?
Well, I think Horner will be asked that question himself this weekend, and if no one else asks it, I will. Because in a couple of races ago, the rumours about Verstappen potentially leaving for 2026 were really strong, and they're still strong now. And he was saying, "Oh, no one's bigger than the team." Basically saying, "Well, if Max wants to go, he can." But if you're responsible, and it is primarily, I'll emphasise again, the primary reason for Newey being unsettled and wanting to leave is because of these allegations against Christian Horner, which he denies. If you're the team boss and you've lost the single most important person in your team because of what you've done, the obvious question is, does that, what you said about no one's bigger than the team, does that apply to you? Shouldn't you resign? And people will be asking that question.
Well, the other question mark as well, just to come back to Verstappen's future too, is everyone's looking at 2026 right now, right? And the big power unit, a regulation change, Red Bull are going to be providing their own power units. That's the first time they're going to be doing that. That's a massive question mark for Max Verstappen. I'm sure, with all the might of Red Bull and, partnering with Ford in 2026, it's still, even with all that, going to be a massive what if. What if they get it wrong? What if they get it wrong? Okay, if they had Adrian Newey, that's their secret weapon still. But now they don't. And then I think that question mark gets even bigger for Max Verstappen. He goes, well, who do I know? Who's got the past history of absolutely matching regulation changes? Well, it's Mercedes.
They didn't get the last one right.
Except for this one.
But I think also if you're Max, he spent a long time at Red Bull. He's been there nearly 10 years. This is his 10th year now with in the Red Bull family, having come with a year of Toro Rosso as well, the B team. And looking forward to the future, the team is obviously splintering. They're in a real crossover moment, Red Bull. Right now, they're the best car. He will be champion this year. If he stays, he probably will be champion next year. But then there's the big change in 2026. Does he still have the faith that Red Bull will be the team to beat in 2026 when they're then having a power unit change? Ford are coming in. Honda are going towards Aston Martin, and that's the Red Bull-Honda partnership now that's done him so well. Is he going to have faith that with all this uncertainty, various members of staff leaving, the headline of which is Adrian Newey, who is going to be a monumental loss for them, is this going to be the time where he's going to pitch and switch teams? And they're going to be really looking at this. And on top of it, there's so much politics in play because of the Christian Horner situation as well. And that's why I can see this being the pivotal time to change. And it's always difficult when you're in the top car. But as Hamilton showed when he went to Mercedes and they weren't winning at the time, is about predicting the next step. And I think that's what Max and the Verstappen camp will be doing right now.
So Verstappen said three things when he's been asked about his future this year, about what he wants. He wants a competitive car. Well, he's got that at the moment. He wanted a quiet atmosphere where people were talking about the racing. Not a chance of that happening at the moment. And he wanted the senior team at Red Bull to stay in place. That's finished. So two of those three things have now gone. So, you know,
and the third could go too, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we do have some certainty. Lewis Hamilton will go to Ferrari next year, and as Harry alluded to earlier, there are rumours that could be where Adrian Newey heads to, although in the past he's always said he wouldn't want to move to Maranello, where the Scuderia are based, but who knows, maybe as his last tenure in the sport, perhaps he would like to make that move. Let's hear what Lewis Hamilton had to say in the press conference earlier when asked about Adrian Newey and the potential of working with him at some point.
Adrian's known for, he's got such a great history, track record, and has obviously just done an amazing job through his career in engaging with teams and the knowledge that he has, and I think he would be an amazing addition. I think they've already got a great team. They're already making huge progress, strides forwards. Their car's quicker this year, but yeah, it'd be a privilege to work with him.
And on a personal level, how excited would you be to work with a man of his experience?
Very.
Well, that tells you all you need to know, maybe, if you're reading between the lines. I was interested to listen to Checo Perez, of course, Max Verstappen's teammate at Red Bull, when he was asked about what he felt Adrian Newey could bring to another team and the impact. And he said it would be an immediate impact wherever he goes, which I'm sure was music to Lewis Hamilton's ears, if indeed it is where Adrian Newey is going. So let's just play hypothetical funsies now. You've got Charles Leclerc, potent over one lap, Lewis Hamilton, needs no explaining, maybe the GOAT, 7-time world champion, and then potentially Adrian Newey, championship winning, surely, 2026, even 2025.
I'll tell you what, if Fred Vasseur, the team principal, pulls that off,
Big bonus.
Fair play. He's come in and absolutely transforming that team. And I think Newey, it seems like it's the logical choice, doesn't it? We don't know the inner workings of where his mind is at, but the romance of going to Ferrari, he wouldn't have to be in Maranello the whole time either. He could pick and choose, and the chance to work with Lewis Hamilton in what will be his, final team, I highly suspect. I think that would just be the cherry on top.
So they're building the Galacticos at Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. You've got right now Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Now Sainz is good. He's won a race this year. He was the only person to beat the Red Bulls last year, but he's not good enough for Ferrari, and that's why they've signed Lewis Hamilton, who is Galactico level. We talk about GOATs. He's right in there for the best driver ever, and that's who they've signed alongside someone that I think everyone considers a potential champion in Charles Leclerc, and maybe the outright fastest driver. That driver pairing alone is incredible. It's one of the best we've seen in a long, long time, maybe ever. Now they're looking at pinching the best designer that Formula One's ever seen, and that is pretty much categorical. They are building an absolute force at Ferrari. We don't know that Newey's definitely going there, but all the intuition says that he is. And I can see it from Adrian's point of view as well, because a lot of the technical team or designers, even the mechanics in the garage and everyone, they want to work with the best drivers. Now, Adrian has a lot of respect for some of the great drivers, and he's never worked with some of them. He has a lot of admiration for Fernando Alonso, and as I said, he'd love a chance to work with him. He's obviously worked with Verstappen for a long time, with Vettel in the past as well, and plenty of greats. But it probably will be his last roll of the dice for his career when he changes teams. And the lure of working with Lewis Hamilton is going to be a lot for him, and the same lure that Hamilton had to go to Ferrari, the mythical team. It's going to be a lot for him. So that's why all the logic is that Newey's going to go there. And what a team! The Galacticos famously weren't great around.
Also, what do Ferrari do? Also, they make fantastic road cars. What's Adrian Newey doing at the moment? He's making a Red Bull supercar. Imagine an Adrian Newey Ferrari styled by Pininfarina. Ferrari.
Have you got your name on the list, Andrew Benson? Is this what you're saying?
On my BBC salary.
You're looking pretty trendy this weekend. New threads and stuff. Next step, Ferrari hypercar. Makes sense.
But wouldn't that be for Newey's point of view? I'm sure he would think that was something special.
Well, look, it's a watch this space moment, I think, in Formula One to see where Adrian Newey goes. Will it be Ferrari? Will he actually just step away from Formula One? Who knows? Of course.
A chance.
No, I know. I'm just, playing a little bit of devil's advocate.
Hypothetical funsies.
That's what I like. That's why I'm here. Do you know what? The real reason we're here is because there is a race this weekend. There are two. We've got the sprint and we've got the Grand Prix. Jolyon, this track, does it get you going as a driver? Has it got some challenges out there?
It's got some challenges. You'd hope that every track has some challenges, but there's some fast sweeping turns in the first sector. There's a couple of really long straights to allow a bit of overtaking. It's not a driver's favourite circuit. It is around a car park. It is a little bit flat, a little bit soulless, but you can get some good racing here. Will anyone beat Verstappen, though, is the big question that is really... Every race has the same question, and Max, particularly around this circuit, has been so strong here in the past. So I think that's going to be the challenge for anyone, to get the crowd going and to create something out of this one.
Without getting too technical, we've got some upgrades coming on different cars. I'm looking forward to seeing how Mercedes go, maybe McLaren, Aston Martin, obviously the usual suspects, because the podium has offered a few little surprises already this season.
Yeah, but also we've got to remember it's another sprint weekend, so you only get one practice session. Some teams did bring upgrades last time around. There are teams who say bring a few bits and bobs, but how much value can you actually get out of that in the 1 hour practice session that you get for your chucked in for sprint qualifying? So it will be interesting. Norris obviously had a great run in China. I imagine he'll want to be carrying that momentum forwards. Mercedes need a pickup somewhere along the line. They're still pretty lost at the moment. So there is some things to watch out for in that pack behind Red Bull.
And whilst I say that the track is a little bit more the mediocre, there are barriers lining it. It's not a car park circuit with huge runoff areas. You can whack the barriers. Charles Leclerc managed to do it twice last year, once in qualifying, which shook up the order a little bit. So there's something in that. You've got to be quite precise with your lines, particularly in the high speed. There are things that could go wrong.
It's about 28, 29 degrees now, a few clouds here and there in the sky, because that's where they normally reside. Palm trees as well, they're fluttering. But there is rumour of rain over the weekend, a little sprinkle here or there, which we sort of sometimes expect in Miami. What do you reckon? I know you hate the chat about rain, Jolyon, but on a street circuit-ish like this, is that changing?
I feel like you're just baiting me here, aren't you?
Poking the bear. Pork the bear.
The ever chat of rain. It's a little bit tropical around here, isn't it? Yeah. It's very humid, but it's just scorching, and I don't think it's going to rain. If it does, it'd be quite fun, because we've not had any rain around this circuit before. Harry's
Are we still doing our track
with
run?
The chance of it raining.
Are we still doing our track run in this heat?
It'd be raining for anyone following you, that's for sure.
I'm not obsessed. I've looked at the weather. I haven't seen any rain. So, but track evolution, no matter what the rain is really high here as well. So, we've seen a Magnussen and a Haas qualify fourth in years gone by. So you can get a few upsets like that in qualifying as well to look out for.
So you've got to get it right. Timing is everything. I know it always is, but at a track like this, you need to be really careful when it is ramping, I guess.
It's a temporary circuit as well, so they're not rubbing in the whole time like you get in the permanent venues. You've got to stay on top of your game. You've got to keep improving through the weekend, especially in these qualifying sessions, especially, as Harry said, on a sprint weekend where you don't get a huge amount of practice. There's a little bit of jeopardy thrown in there, even if it doesn't rain.
But Verstappen's going to win.
Harry, it's not the big sell we're after. No, I think there's going to be plenty of action to enjoy, because that's the point. Although the drivers were a little bit poo-pooing of the sprint format again this afternoon, weren't they?
Yeah, slightly bizarre sort of seeing that. Now we got the practice, and then we go to sprint qualifying, and then we have the sprint on the Saturday morning, and then Parc Fermé reopens, and then we have qualifying for the Grand Prix Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday as normal Grand Prix. I thought that's what the drivers were kind of pushing for last year, and now it seems they're all backtracking on that because the jeopardy's gone.
Harry, you work with a former Formula 1 driver.
Well, yeah,
you know how
make up
fickle
your
they
mind.
Look, I'm decisive. Shock horror. The drivers together can't make up their minds on what they want. We're having, 3 or 4 different sprint formats, and then, I thought this was their decision to have the Parc Fermé rules, and then they don't want it, and then they don't love the sprint. Look, everyone's pretty ambivalent about the sprint format still. It's not my personal favourite either, but it does mean we get a little bit more action.
OK, let's be decisive then. We've kind of put Max Verstappen on the top step of the podium. I want your 2s and 3s, please, starting with you, Andrew Benson. Who's completing the podium?
Leclerc and Norris.
Reasons for that?
Leclerc is a street circuit. He's good around street circuits, and McLaren have got an upgrade.
I'll take your answers. Thank you. Julian?
Perez and Leclerc. Red Bull 1-2. It's just a Red Bull circuit, and Perez street circuit-ish. It'll be second.
Will he be close to Max, do you think?
No.
Oh, OK, cool. Harry Benjamin?
I'm going to nick the same one. Perez, Leclerc. I just think Perez is on, OK form, finishing, second to Verstappen more often than not. And as Andrew said, Leclerc is pretty special around a street circuit.
OK, I'm going to say Norris and Alonso. Just why not?
Oh, well, OK.
Who knows? You're laughing at me, Julian Palmer. I don't appreciate that.
I love the optimism.
It's all right, I'll be laughing at you when you guys are on your track run. Enjoy that.
You're coming.
Oh, maybe. I've got the Miami Grand Prix this weekend, and of course, it's a sprint weekend too. So we've got the sprint on Saturday, the Grand Prix proper on Sunday. Hopefully, you'll listen to us on 5 Live from Andrew Benson, Julian Palmer, Harry Benjamin, and myself, Rosanna Tennant. It's goodbye. Next on 5 Live, we'll have all the reaction to today's local elections with Nick Robinson and Rachel Burden.